Marissa. I wanted to show you some of our assignments that have kind of the best feedback associated with them, in my opinion, and try and maybe show you the way that our course works a little bit better. So this is a draft that our students turn in their introduction section for their final proposal. And I feel like this is an assignment where I spend a lot of time and really want to give those students good feedback because they're trying to write this literature review for their final proposal. And a lot of them have never done this before, and it's a good place for them to really learn. So this is an introduction draft that a student has recently turned in, that I've just recently graded. And what I'll do is, one thing that's awesome about Turnitin is that you can go in and make marks on the actual document. So it kind of mirrors face-to-face and actual paper grading a little bit more, which I really like, because sometimes there's things on a paper that you want to point out, so I can highlight this and say, hey, that running head shouldn't be there on that paper, or it can make little notes in certain sections, like I want her to write a thesis statement and maybe put it around this area. Another thing, these students are supposed to have 10 articles in their paper, so I'll go through and I'll start counting up articles, and it's amazing how you can see she's only got 6 that I can find, and it's amazing how it's really easy for them to lose track of those articles. And so when I go through and count them up, I can say, hey, look, it might have seemed like you had a lot of articles in there, but actually you only had 6, so you need to kind of beef that up. Another thing that I really look for is their hypothesis and their purpose. Make sure that they have those in there, they're testable, all of those good things. Another thing that I like about Turnitin, especially on these bigger assignments, is that I can make a grading form, which is kind of like a rubric, but I can show them, I can kind of give them feedback in both places. So here I have like the different categories they're being graded on, and then the points that they got, and you can see right next to it I've kind of put the little number so they know, like for writing they're going to get 8 points, and she got a 6.5 out of 8. And then what it'll do is go through, and as I put that in there, it kind of tabulates their score. So it's great because I feel like I can give them feedback in both places, and I can assign this to that particular section, so the person could like see, oh, I only got 1.5. What are the comments? Oh, okay, this is a comment, and she can kind of come back and check for that comment over here. So I'll give them feedback on each little section, but I'll also say things like, see my note, so that I kind of give them an overall idea on this side of, these are some general changes that you could make. And then I'll say, see my note, which kind of usually is a little bit more specific on their actual paper. So I really like those elements of Turnitin and using this system. And then finally in the writing section, I usually like to kind of give a big overview, and I like to try and keep it positive, especially to start with. I'll say something like, this is a really great start, you have a lot of good information to work with, okay, now this is where you can improve it and you can do some revision. And then I'll say, see my notes, look at some of those more detailed things, and this could really improve for you. So I'll show you one more and I'm still in the process of grading these. So but for instance, this particular person, I actually really liked her topic, and I thought it was really interesting. And I told her that, but there are some areas where I felt like, you probably need to, for instance, in this, she talks about, PTSD is fear-based, moral injury is shame-based, but they both share symptoms. And then she moves on. And I said, you probably need to have a reference or two outlining this, and then maybe this should even have its own paragraph, because I think that's kind of interesting, and it might be something that most people aren't aware of. And she only has 2 pages here, so she's got the space to do it without making it seem like too much. But again, you can see, going through, making comments on the individual things, counting up those references. She actually had her 10 references, which is awesome. And then here, she kind of proposes her study, but I'm saying, you need to make more of a case for it. This person obviously did more of a brief outline, but I was saying, a lot of her comments were, push this a little bit further, push this a little bit further. We need a little bit more information. And then you can see here, in terms of that rubric, why she scored a little bit higher. Kind of interesting. She scored a little bit higher than the last person, even though hers is a little shorter. And that's because the last person only had those 6 articles. And so she got marked down quite a bit on that. Kind of affected her score a lot. So anyway, and you can see like this section tends to be a little bit longer as I kind of give that big overview of like, okay, this is what I thought about this overall. I actually thought her writing was pretty good overall. I just think sometimes she needs to take it a little bit further and give us a little bit more information. So anyway, hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of kind of the feedback that I'm giving on these types of assignments and the feedback that the students are receiving. And I really feel like if they will actually go through and utilize this resource, it can be a huge help to them in learning how to structure their argument better and to write this particular section.